Welcome to Talking About Israel and Stuff, the podcast. I am your host, Mike Liebson. Here today in the studio, in a rare twist of events, is my co-host, Tzach Gefen.
Hey, how's it going?
And joining us from across the salty expanse, all the way from New York City, New York, United States of America, is our good friend, Mr. Ben Jacobs.
Hello.
Yeah, hi,
Hello,
Ben.
Ben.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
How's it doing? All good?
Yeah, it's going very well over here. How's it going over there with you?
It's pretty good. I'm in like a 3x6 kind of office cubicle cell workspace, right? In Rikers. No, I'm in I'm in my school library.
Even Rutgers would be better than Rikers.
Right, exactly. But this is New York University.
Tzach, I got Tzach there.
You stumped me.
Yeah, actually, this is
what?
quite a rare instance of Rutgers is a university in New Jersey, and Rikers
that
Island
I do know.
Prison.
Rutgers, I should have known that.
Rutgers, yeah, Rutgers. That's where the grease trucks were, dude.
Well, isn't that where you found Tzach for the podcast, actually? I think you were in the States and you found the
No, that was
Tzach.
Newark. That was Newark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right,
Yes.
right.
Newark. But anyway, so it's good to have you, and I'm glad that you are safely secured and locked up in your 3x6 learning cell.
Quite comfortable, thank you.
Good. You were starting to talk about people coming and knocking on the doors. I thought it was like the modesty police or something like that.
It is, yes. It's kind
You're
of
not
like
in Brooklyn, are you?
No, right now I'm in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn, and I commute to campus. It's about a 30-minute commute, so not too bad.
Just saw a thing, you guys are getting more and more commuters every year. Just a thing in the States right now.
You guys?
In the States in general.
You
it's getting
guys.
more and more people commute.
Yeah, that's right. It's funny because people used to just commute from, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn and Staten Island to Manhattan, but now you have people commuting from fucking, California. Maybe not so far, but you have people who commute from New Jersey, Connecticut, everything.
Right.
It's really, it seems like it's a complete bummer. People commuting like 3 hours a day or so.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how they do it. Like you would, if you start, most people start work at 9, that means you would have to be up by 5. So that just wouldn't work in my schedule.
No, as someone who walks to work.
No, I totally get what you're saying, Tzach. But listen, this is not exactly a new phenomenon. I mean, this is...
No, but they're saying it's getting worse and worse and worse. More and more, it's becoming a real problem.
Of people commuting into the big cities or just in general commuting?
I'm not sure about the specifics.
Yeah, but you know what? It's
Yesterday?
not just New York. I think New York is a prime example because New York is massive. But you also see it in other places. I don't really know West Coast. You could comment on LA, but I know DC, where I'm from originally.
I can say it
there's
definitely.
always been commuters from Maryland, Virginia, even further sometimes. You get people commuting from Baltimore, which is an hour and a half to DC sometimes with rush hour traffic. So.
Right.
It happens in Israel too, right? People commute.
Yeah, absolutely. In Israel, it happens as well. Most of the commerce and commercial activity and economic kind of drive is in the center of the country, Tel Aviv and surrounding areas, Herzliya and whatnot. And you have a lot of people that live in Haifa. They take the train.
Even in Haifa, yeah.
Yeah, even from Haifa, it's can be about 45-minute to an hour train ride.
People went to school with me.
Yeah, a lot of students even
in
will
Tel
commute.
Aviv. They would come from Haifa, from Jerusalem, from Rishon LeZion.
Sure, yeah. If you only have 2 days of classes a week, then you might take the train or take the bus from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv or the good old 480 we all know and love.
Well, you know what I was thinking of though? I was thinking to myself, where I guess one example of commuters would be how from Westchester above New York City. There's a lot of really wealthy people who live there and then just come in for the day and then go back home to their wealthy suburbanite neighborhoods. And I guess what would the version of that be in Tel Aviv, Kfar Shmariyahu or something like that, one of the really rich. What I mean?
Yeah, totally. Kfar Shmariyahu or Savion. Savion would be I think the ultimate example of that.
Yeah, let's all feel bad for people in Savion right now.
Yes, we should take a moment of silence to honor. No, you laugh. Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on just a moment, Tzach. You laugh. But there are families in Savion today, in the year 2018, that do not have helicopters. I'm dead serious.
I mean, it's a tragedy.
More than one. I'm talking about multiple families.
Yeah, they're going to do a benefit for them.
So, you laugh, you on the kibbutz with your color television and your swimming pool, but there are people in Savion who have to drive to work. Well, I mean, they don't drive. Their driver drives them, but they have to ride in a car,
Yeah.
okay, and not in a helicopter like a normal fucking multimillionaire. With your permission, I'd like to back up for a quick moment because we didn't really introduce you,
No.
as it were.
Yes. So I lived in Israel from 2008 to 2013. That's where I met my good friends Tzach and Mike. And
Right, that's where we all met. Back. You and I were in the Ulpan together, or were you before me?
we did your first Ulpan was my Ulpan,
right.
and then I worked in the avocados while you went to Ulpan again, and then you started. I think you started working there or something.
Working as a waiter, yeah.
Yeah.
And you unfortunately didn't have the good luck of gaining the glamour and the glory of becoming a waiter, so you went to the paratroopers instead.
Oh yeah.
It was a close second. But it was all right, yeah. So I went to, so I'll just back up and do a little history. I moved to Israel in 2008. In 2010, I went to the Army. I did all sorts of tryouts for units, other units, special units in between that time.
Right.
So Yom Sayalot and Gibush, or a few Gibushim. Basically tryouts. And then I went to the Army from 2010 to 2012. So I was in there for 2.5 years, and I served in the paratroopers. I did some
So that
Kav.
means you did jump, right? You had to earn your wings, as they say.
I did. I jumped. 5 is what you do just for training, but then I was a commander. So after commander school, I went to be with new recruits and kind of did their training with them and jumped once again. So I did 6 jumps in total. But that's it. Right. So yeah, it's actually, nice. I think, it was a good time, You couldn't.
Is it cool? I mean, is it a thrill? You get the adrenaline rush?
It is. I really liked it. I mean, some kids were shitting themselves as they were like, or you hear some people like saying the Shema. As they're going up in the air, and it's like, what are you? This isn't D-Day. Like you don't even have to pull the the cord.
Right, you're tied.
Dramatic.
You got the cord tied inside the plane, right, and it automatically pulls it.
I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but to start saying Shema Yisrael, that's pretty.
These are the same people that cross the street, without looking to see if it's green while they're looking down on their cell phones. They're surprised when the bus runs them over.
They did a Shema Yisrael on the comms when we were about to go into Lebanon for this really big operation in 2006. It was really something. I was sitting there and suddenly all the tanks in a row. There was the full Shema Yisrael. It was a very serious moment.
All like 8 words to it, I think.
No, it has like a whole.
I'm sorry,
I heard that before. Yeah, you're actually counting. I heard that before Lebanon, before the actual whatever they called it, incursion. 2006. That they, they're. I guess they do this before every peula, every operation. They have like
it was a war.
Rabbi distributing tefillin like before you go in. It's like last minute Hail Marys or whatever the Jewish version is.
It's pretty much it's a Hail Moshe.
So you were jumping off a plane.
That's pretty good. Hail Moshe. Yeah, so I was jumping off the plane. I jumped off the plane and then, I went through, I mean, I can do the soup. I'm actually pretty good at it. I did 8 months of basic training, advanced training. Then I went for 4 months to Kav, border duty in Gaza. After that, I went to 3 or 4 months of commander's school. After that, I went through about 8 months of basic training and advanced training with my soldiers, and then.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
If we're gonna unpack the army, let's unpack the army. So you did Tionut, boot camp, and advanced training. Yeah.
Right.
That's a whole spiel in and of itself. I mean, boot camp, from my experience, is not a fun ordeal.
Yeah. Did you have to go to the army Ulpan as well after you'd finished the Ulpan here?
So there was, it's all in Machve Alon, which is near Carmiel, for those who are acquainted, and it is they have a longer program, the Army Ulpan. I think it's several months. I went to the one that was 3 weeks. So a lot of the kids doing the 3-week Ulpan were the ones who just either their parents were Israeli and they didn't grow up in Israel. So it was almost like a cultural kind of immersion program more than an Ulpan. We didn't actually learn that much Hebrew. It was just kind of like filling in the gaps, what you would have learned about the Army had you grown up in Israel. Right. So that was that. Yeah, I did 3 weeks of that, and then I went to the paratroopers. And yeah, basic training was a fucking asshole of a time. I mean, it was hard. It was really hard.
Did you have other olim chadashim, other new immigrants, also with you once you got to your basic training or in your advanced training?
Yeah, I did. So, I mean, there were other people who were like me, like Americans, or like us, Americans or Canadians.
Wait, you're American?
Have I given myself away? Oh no.
You've said too much.
I've said too much.
Yeah, as an American, I would imagine that you're not as lonely as someone from like Venezuela or something. You know, like you're just quite a few Americans around.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for Venezuelans, they get the care packages from Hugo Chavez, or they used to. The Chavez packages.
You're getting guys, does anybody know who this case of rum belongs to?
So you do the tirunut. That's a bitch and a half. But
so wait, no, you were starting to tell us that you had some other Americans and Canadians with you. I was curious.
Oh yeah, I forgot because we're doing bits. So it's really hard to remember where the fuck we are because all we're doing is bits.
No, well, I remembered.
Totally.
All right, so you lead us.
Totally.
All right,
mixed.
So
that'd be funny if they were like, put all the Americans there so that if we need a disposable squad, that we'll have one.
Operation Human Shield.
Yeah, exactly. So we.
Nice.
So yeah.
Hey, by the way, that was a '90s film reference.
That's a '90s film reference. Definitely is. Mikey's in charge.
Mikey's
in charge of those.
I'm in charge of the '90s film references. It's a very refined skill, area of expertise, but it's all mine.
Job market's all over it.
I'm telling you, you guys need you need a sound effect for like '90s films.
We'll get there. We're still young.
Yeah, that's where you come in.
This is
we need you to be really interesting so that people want to listen.
That's
so we
true.
can afford the sound effects.
I'll try.
Okay,
to get
So, So there was another Canadian in my squad, one of my friends, and actually it was kind of good because he had such an accent that they almost like didn't pay attention to me. This is just like a personal kind of funny story. Like he used to mercilessly, whenever he would like welcome the commander or have to speak in public, everybody just lost their shit. I mean, it was kind of funny, but
was he like a French Canadian? Did he have that French Hebrew accent?
No, I'm not sure where he's from. Definitely not French. No, it was the most American-sounding accent I've ever heard in my entire life.
So that's Toronto.
He's a good friend.
Or maybe Vancouver.
But then at a certain point,
yeah.
But then at a certain point, you were also a commander of boot campaigners. How would you say
boot campers? Rise and shine, boot campers.
Right. So then also, I just wanted to take a minute. There's also like other, there's Americans and Canadians and stuff like that. But there was also obviously some of them weren't lone soldiers, but there was Ethiopians who were clearly some of them born in Israel, but some of them also. The guy in my squad actually was born in Ethiopia. He was born in Gondar, and it's the
You're
Ethiopian.
making that up.
I am making it up. And he moved to Israel, I think, at a young age, probably like 5 or less or something like that. So he had to be really young. And then there was all sorts of like Russians. There's actually a lot of Chayalim Bodedim that are, they're Israeli born and raised, but either they come from Haredi families and they renounce their Harediship.
Right. That's. Yeah, the
ultra-Orthodox.
Their Harediness?
Yeah.
I don't think...
What's your state of Harediness?
I don't think you can be wrong here. You're adding an English suffix to a Hebrew word. I think you're good.
Right. No, it's true though. There are a lot of Israeli-born, even native Israeli-born lone soldiers. Mm-hmm. You remember your aunt had an Israeli-born lone soldier.
That is true. She was very nice.
From difficult backgrounds,
yes.
Broken families, and hard economic situations, and all different kinds of reasons.
We
kind of a-
encourage adoption.
It's kind of a weird sounding thing, like a foreign-born lone soldier, born lone. Sorry.
Born
Born alone.
Born
Is
lone.
that
Born.
Born
is
lone
that
soldier. Born.
Is that the Matt Damon series?
It is.
Yeah, that
That's the new one.
sounds close to that.
Rural juror. Yeah, so
Jason
I finished.
Bourne is
Rural
Jason
juror.
Bourne finds out
That's
he's Jewish
a good
and
reference.
he's joining the IDF.
I gotta give you props for the rural juror.
He's going to be a foreign-born lone soldier.
We're past you in the references. We were talking about the rural juror.
Rural juror from 30 Rock. Everyone knows that. Everyone loves that.
Mikey doesn't know that.
I am a 30 Rock fan, but I missed that reference. So, yeah, good on you.
It's recurring, but that's all right. Next time around.
Yes.
So Tzach was asking.
Zing!
Tzach was asking what else was hard in the army. There was a lot of tuna. Yeah. So I mean, one thing that's particularly hard that everybody bitches about, at least in basic training, is just the masakumta, which is the beret march, and that. So
Oh, yeah.
it's changed actually since I was in
Sounds
the
so
army.
French when you say it in English.
Yeah, you did the pussy version. How long did you do it?
Well, ours was about 80 kilometers, so that's 50 miles.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
that's-
That's the pussy version.
That's the pussy version?
Yeah. I think the original was like 120.
Really?
Well,
It's
right,
like
so-
they're done training you, and now they're gonna kill you. It just makes sense.
I mean, I think some of the style, it's still, like, the special forces still do, however, they probably just never stop. They just
never
they're
stop,
marching
yeah.
their
Never.
whole life.
They're still
And I'm like,
marching.
how's the army?
You know,
They're
you know how they do
still
the whole
good.
thing where they're carrying a stretcher, so one guy in the squad gets
Yeah.
to sleep for 15
Yeah.
minutes while he's on the stretcher, and then they just switch. They go for days on end.
Days. They're still marching.
Yeah, today, just 50 years ago, they're still going.
Wait, no, I want to break character for a moment and ask you. There's this conception of some great emotional, entanglement or kind of emotional response to the masakumta, like, oh, we can do it. We did it together. Did you get this like sense of pride and joy and this kind of euphoric experience, or was it just like, thank God it's over, give me a fucking shower?
I mean, yeah, I literally couldn't walk for like 3 days after. I could barely get up. I mean, it was awful. No, there were some people when I looked around, because you're marching all night. You started around 4 or 5 p.m. the previous day, and you finish maybe at 10 a.m. the next day marching. So so that's how you march, and then there were some people who were really elated. I got really pissed off both times that I had to do the beret march, because the first time as a I was about to say student, but more or less as as the student. The second as the sensei.
Student has become the master.
The sensei, yeah. So the first time as the soldier, the second time as the commander. But both times I noticed that, and this was a personal thing that I really didn't like, but people would be such smartutim. They would be such like rags, some limp rags, is the literal translation, and they would,
Right.
barely carry themselves, not volunteer, not help their friends all night. And then in the
Right.
morning, when you see Jerusalem and the sun is rising and things are warm and people are cheering in the streets, then they become big heroes and they put their arms in the air and everybody sees them. I really hated that. I don't think you do the hard work because it pays off in the end when everybody's cheering for you. But there were some people who obviously didn't do that. But when I did see that, I was a little bit... I was dismayed by that. And that's a recurring theme, kind of. It's not just in the army, it's anywhere. Who's going to be the show-off at the last second, Not to get too...
Right. Generally the guy who did the least to contribute in getting there.
They're the ones with the most energy kept
Right,
to
exactly.
show off in
I've
the
been
end.
pacing myself.
Right, so that was murderously hard. There's also Shavua Milchama, which is in training, which is War Week.
That sounds worse, I gotta tell you. I'd rather do the 80 kilometers.
I would too. Yeah, that was awful. Both were not fun. I could think of more fun things to do.
On a Saturday night.
Tear off my nails, repaint like 4
Chew
houses.
my tongue off.
Just horrible,
Yeah.
horrible things.
I mean, that's what a lot of the hardest things were. Just you were carrying so much weight. During the army, I probably weighed about 150 pounds, which is like...
Don't brag.
I mean, I don't know what. how many kilos?
Why are
is
you
that?
guys
Like
still
65,
using-
70?
You know what?
It's about
It's
65
bad
kilos,
enough
dude.
you guys still use pounds. You're gonna not tell me how you don't know
it's about
kilos.
67 kilos.
You're like 5 years here. You don't know kilos.
There you go.
67
67 kilos. So you're too
You're getting a
low.
calculator open on your computer, aren't you, Ben?
I'm actually not. I thought that you did, and that's why I didn't need to.
Oh, no,
but-
I have one.
Yeah, it's
in your-
2.2.
in your brain.
2.2
yeah, it's 2.2
pounds per kilo.
I know that. But so
Yep.
so 60 I weighed probably 65, 67 kilos at the time, and then your bag that you would carry was, I mean, it was only supposed to be like 80% mishkal guf, which is body weight, but you know, oftentimes it would get up to like 75. It would surpass your own body weight that you would have to carry. And you would-
75 kilos that you're carrying?
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
I thought.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know why. I thought it was like 40 kilos.
I'm telling you, man, they're trying to kill our soldiers. You spend all this
And
time,
they're
money,
right,
and
and
hard
they're
work
changing-
training them. Do you break
They're-
their legs? Did they got like those shivrei ma'amatz? How you call them?
Like
Stress
a splinter-
fractures.
Stress
Stress
fractures.
stress fractures. Yeah, they get stress fractures, like they get in wartime. It's ridiculous.
Well, after the army, I had really bad back pains, and when I was back in the States, I went to a few osteopaths, or actually just whatever bone doctors were doing MRIs and stuff like that, and they took an MRI of my
doctor.
spine, and the guy showed it to me, and he was like, you see these here? These are supposed to be white and puffy. And yours look like, they were the discs on my back, L4 and L5. And he said, they look like dead, shriveled raisins. I said, that's pretty clear imagery of what's not supposed to. So I still exercise. I do everything pretty unrestricted, but I do have some pain once in a while. It's residual. It'll probably never go away.
That's the past, man. It's calling you out on your sins.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I don't want to know what my other friends who got really injured. I have one friend who got injured actually during the jumps, during the parachuting.
Yeah, did he
jumped out of
not,
the plane. Yeah,
No,
I mean,
he accidentally bit his tongue while saying the Shema, and he actually
That's right.
called it a work
Yeah.
injury.
No,
Yeah,
did he not
he's a
land
religious
right?
guy.
He probably didn't land right?
Yeah, so I think there's something called like steps, madrigot, if I remember correctly, where when one person falls too close to the other, when you're jumping too close to the next one, you can steal each other's wind and you both kind of hurtle towards the ground faster and faster. And he kind of caught the last bit of, the other guy got lag and he just fell and broke aliya, like a vertebrae. And he was out for, I think he was really, really badly injured for about 6 months. And then he started, I mean, he never went back to Kravi, to combat, but yeah, so it's real.
Yeah, army injuries are
almost
very.
every year you hear some story about a soldier dying in training.
Who knew that the training for the army is dangerous? This is that's
Well,
what you risk.
the thing is, they're almost never live fire incidents.
No, there are.
majority, there
There's a
are as
few.
well, but almost every year you hear about some soldier who dies of extreme dehydration or heat stroke.
that
or things
goes
like
less
that.
and less. They're more and more aware of that.
Well, they're more and more aware of it because they get sued every time by the family.
It's not just getting sued. Nobody wants a kid to die under their watch. But
Well, that's
you just got to
someone
be
in
aware.
my-
You got to be aware, like how when you're in Kravi, you're not gonna put your sleeves down because people are gonna think you're a pussy. So you're not gonna stop in the middle of the dead heat, stop training because of the same reason. So it's
Right.
people do all sorts of crazy shit so they don't think they're pussies. So
Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
get
yeah.
carried away.
Yeah, you just got to take care of yourself and be smart about it. I've seen people get heat strokes. I've seen a friend of mine, he couldn't even say his fucking name. And he's standing there. It wasn't in training. I mean, it was during training, but it wasn't like they were running us left and right. He was just chilling. But still, it was so warm that Israel gets quite warm. So we had,
that's
to dump, we had to dump so much water on him, put him in the cold.
Oh yeah, when you have makat chom and you have to pour it
my
all.
God.
It's like 14 liters or something or whatever of water.
Yeah, we just
There's
poured a jerry
It's like
can.
according
It's a
to
jerry can.
regulation procedures.
There is. Yeah, and they're like, don't waste. Not
No,
more than-
they'll pour water on you. rest assured.
They are class act stand-up guys. They will pee on you if you're burning.
Yeah.
That's right. It's
But
called
no,
the
they will.
That's the R. Kelly maneuver, actually. It's that's bad.
TM.
Yeah, exactly. TM. Funny shit.
Anyway, so tell me something, Ben, if it's not too personal of a question.
Sure.
You came here and you became Ben Baal Ashel.
Right.
But I'm sitting next to a guy called Mike Leibson.
Right.
He stayed Mike Leibson. That's for better or for worse, you know. That's
Right.
really
It's still out for debate.
You know, Richie Alpert
The jury's
turned
out on
into
this one.
to Ram Dass, you know, when he went to India. I'm just saying it's for better or for worse. It really depends on you. I got a friend of mine, Glenn. Now he's Ilan. There's all bunch of, you know what I mean. Justin now is Yosef. It really is common. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about that whole procedure of changing your name? I'm assuming it's to assimilate and to feel more a part of this country.
Yeah, well, actually, it was because when I was born, I had a twin, but I ate him actually during the delivery process. So
Okay, we're doing that.
That's a better one. I was gonna say I thought it was because you owed a great deal of money to the mob in Brooklyn.
Well, don't tell them that because I'm still here. But yeah, no. So there's a story behind that. So my uncle, my dad's younger brother, he served in the Israeli army a long time ago, probably in the 70s, I guess. And he changed his name. I mean, my dad's last name, my last name is Jacobs. So his father's name was Asher Jacobs. So my uncle changed his name to Yoni. His first name was John. So Yoni Ben Asher. So Yoni, son of Asher. Ben Asher was his last name that he changed it to.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to become Ben Asher because that sounds like Ben, and that's weird. So that's what I thought. But so
We went Aramaic on our asses.
oh, there's the Hebrew lesson for the day. Bar mitzvah. There you go. You can do that one after. But so yeah, bar mitzvah. Bar Asher, it was just kind of and yeah, that is kind of what there's no just sound for the non-Hebrew speaker listeners.
Bar Kochva.
Yeah, but I didn't want to, you know, people would have picked on me. People would have been like, oh, you want to be a warrior, huh? Come crawl to me. So it sounded much more Israeli in my mind, and I think it did, and nobody would really question it that much. It's not a common last name in Israel, but it is Hebrew sounding. So, I mean, so Jacobs would have been, every time somebody said Jacobs, they would have had to say Jacobs, and it sounds like, you know, I think that you see that a lot of times when anytime any community comes to Israel, or anywhere for that matter, they take, you know, a lot of steps to actually, my family's last name in the States wasn't even Jacobs. It was some guy who moved over from Lithuania or wherever, Poland, and his name was Jacob Feibush, and they couldn't figure out how to say his last name, so they just called him Jacob Jacobs, literally.
Jacob Jacobs.
They're like, oh, you got
yeah.
a first name, we'll make it your last, too. Bada bing, bada bang. Do you know what I wanted to interject real quick? It's kind of something that's been going on here. You know, the PTSD is not something they talk about, especially with the prevalence of, like, you know, the army. It's so ubiquitous that people would come out a little bit fucked up, especially after any sort of, you know, operation. And people don't really talk about it in Israel. Some of the things, I've read a lot about it, is that they think that Israel might be a little bit more of a protected population because everybody grows up with it. You see the army as part of it, but people aren't great about talking about their feelings there. You know what I mean?
PTSD in this country is just now being talked about thoroughly. Yeah, it's a really big deal. A lot of people, like even back in 67, 73, all the big wars, people came out of that completely fucked up, and they couldn't talk to anybody about it. I've seen a couple of intros to 2 documentaries that I haven't seen, but. Yeah, it's a whole big issue that needs addressing. I feel like people don't walk around in this country understanding how affected they are by the army. So the people who actually have PTSD, who can't sleep at night, they at least they know they got something wrong with them. But you see people acting like they're still in like a logistics base. You know what I mean?
But he's managing a bait cafe outside the train station.
Right.
Yeah, but they don't know something's wrong. They don't know they're acting like they're in the army.
Right, like sometimes the way that people will explain it in Israeli society, I feel like they'll be like, oh, hey, Moti's been a little bit weird, and be like, yeah, he's a little quiet since the army. That's like the way they explain it. It's like that's like saying about a schizophrenic person that like, oh yeah, sometimes they just talk with other things. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Like it's it's a brushing under the rug.
Old-timey, very old-timey, quaint way of brushing it under the rug.
Right. So I think some of the thing is, obviously, I think growing up in Israel, close to it does protect you a little bit because it's not such a new phenomenon. Whereas in the States, people, there's no war here. Our nice neighbors of Canada and Mexico don't really pose too much of a problem either, in any sense of the word. So. It's very acute and apparent when they come back from war zones, and it's a little bit more not cushioned, but like it's hidden in Israel.
I see what you mean. It just on the one end, I'm trying to think. Okay, so sure. First of all, yeah, we're a bit more exposed to the dangers and the reality of war here in Israel. So when we grow up with it, maybe later on,
there's a certain level of desensitization.
Yes, sure. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, but we're still human beings with a brain.
Certainly.
So that brain, when it experiences that level of shock, will respond. So, do you know what I mean?
It's a part.
In the
It's a part of the brain.
in the States, it's probably
Yeah.
a lot more, a lot harsher.
I think
coming
it's a lot
back
more
from,
apparent.
But it's not only that. When you go to 2 years in
Right,
Iraq,
a tour of duty in a foreign country without ever
You
seeing your
know,
home.
you know.
Absolutely. I mean, here the longest you're ever going to go in wartime is maybe 50 days. And that's even
nowadays,
really pushing it.
Nowadays.
And
It used to be months, but still, it's not
Sure.
2 fucking years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's certainly not those long tours of duty so far away from home. And usually, even if you're away from home for 50 days in today's army, your parents are going to come visit you a couple times and bring you,
Well,
bamba and
that's
stuff.
just because it's me, My parents came to visit me all the
not
time.
just saying
but
just
it's
you in
like,
general.
nah.
The average Israeli, like if they're away from home for that long, their parents come to drive to the base on Saturday to bring them, chulent and
Right, but
whatever.
not during war. My parents came to visit me during the war a few times, but that's because we're from the north, and it was maybe like an hour away for them to drive. They didn't care. And I remember my mom. She
It's
came
such a-
over to this.
I feel like for non-Israelis hearing this, they're like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Like, your parents
Is
came to
war code for something? Or like,
It's like, yeah,
Listen, I was at the Kfar Giladi quarry when it was bombed. And whole of Kfar Giladi got bombed, and we listened to the live body count being counted. And a few days before that, my parents came to visit me at the Kfar Giladi quarry where we were stationed, and we evacuated from the quarry to be next to Metula, looking over the border and being preparing to go into Lebanon. And it was really fucked up because they were standing there and there were like a whole solela, I don't know how you call it, a battery of
tanks,
artillery?
artillery, and they were firing into the depths, 30, 40 kilometer shells they're firing, and my mom is jumping around from those explosions because it's not incoming, it's outgoing,
Right.
but it's still scary.
right, it's still an explosion. It sounds like an
still
explosion.
scary.
Yeah.
So that is trippy as shit to see those kind of things and to experience those kind of, because it's not like war as you saw it in movies. It's different. It's different.
war that you're experiencing.
Yeah, but it's different. It's so.
You're feeling the shockwave. You're hearing your subconscious is running with all these thoughts of what could happen, and I can
You're
imagine.
not flying over Okinawa. You're in your backyard. You were just traveling there. You were just walking around the Hermon
Right,
or
you
going
went,
to Metula
you went
to
for a
eat
nice
something.
drive on a Saturday, to go get some
Yes.
hummus and visit a war zone.
It's so trippy, man. It's so psychedelic.
Yeah, man. Even on border duty. So I never had to. Tzach, you were in the army like 2005, 2004.
2005 to 2008.
Yeah, so I was in a quiet time. You were in Lebanon. I had pretty quiet, but even during quiet times, it's kind of a surreal feeling of being in the Israeli army because, like the time when I was I was at Ein Shlosha, which is on the Gaza border, and there was always it was peacetime, but mortars are like a way of saying hello, like one to the other once in a while. It's just like, oh, okay, how are you doing?
Hey, remember us? I'm your neighbor.
Yeah,
so
we were
you
there.
would go up. Yeah, so you would go up to do guard duty in the middle of the night, just normal, like 2 to 4 a.m., and you would be standing like 1 kilometer, the outpost is 1 kilometer from the Gaza post, and they're kind of like, guard that way. Which means what do you mean guard that way? So you're kind of looking that way. Nothing ever happens, but at the same time, so you're exhausted in the middle of the night, and so you're kind of like, I should be a very vigilant soldier and pay attention at all times. But then that sometimes, all soldiers, they play with their phone, they smoke cigarettes, they don't pay attention.
Right.
And it's weird. No. It breeds this like nihilistic kind of notion of like, so what if I die? Like, they left me out here on guard duty. Like,
what were they thinking? They gave a 20-year-old American kid responsibility for not starting the next major international conflict. Like, who's really at fault?
No,
here?
but wait. I was actually on the Gaza border from. Let me think real second. So it was like 7 months up until. So it was like January till August of 2008. So that's a few months. I finished the army there. So that was a few months before Cast Lead.
Right.
December.
Cast Lead was December 2008.
Yes.
January 2009.
So that was just a few months before that. It was. I'll call it calm because we only got mortared about twice a day. So
twice a day. That's just it's enough. It's just enough to remember to brush your teeth.
Yes.
You're like, that reminds me.
Yeah. But we were there. I wasn't in a fighter unit then. I did some stuff and I left. I was still in the same brigade, but I was still in the same brigade. But they wanted to put me up, fixing trucks and shit. And I was like, "Fuck that shit."
He bit his commander's ear off.
Yes. Right. What? How do you came up with that? That's fantastical. Listen, it's. No, it's a whole story that I'll get into in further podcasts. I'm kind of doling out this kind of my army experience to not overshock anybody. But it's I was in the logistics end of the deal and handing out, the whatnots and just kind of chilling my last 7 months, border of Gaza. But I also did, we also went to the very last bit of the disengagement, 2005. It was about October.
Right, yeah.
2005.
I think August, September.
Well, August, September was the disengagement.
Okay,
we came by a little bit after.
Cleanup.
And what we did was we took out copper and stuff from the destroyed houses to give back to the people who got evacuated.
Naturally.
Yeah. It's
sounds like such a scam.
It's just symbolic. It's really just symbolic. But it was just to be there.
You're like, I was looking for copper. What do you mean?
I was in a special unit. Like, it sounds so classified.
Yeah, but I was hold on. I was 18. I didn't feel anything or understood anything that was around me. But I do remember friends of mine, religious, standing around with their head bowed down. They're a few years older than me and a bit more not respectful. That's not the word I'm looking for. I was respectful, reverent. They kind of soaked in this experience, and they wouldn't touch the houses. It was like a thing. They wouldn't do anything with the disengagement. Even then I could respect that. Even back then I was like, fuck yeah, this is a free country, and even though you're in the army, man, if there's things you're not comfortable with, I mean, sure, it's not fun that other people have to do anything, but it's still, you could. I saw people who were conscientious objectors, or just, I don't know, cowards. Some of them,
just for sake of clarity, on the off chance that anybody out there is listening,
yes.
We're talking about the civilian disengagement from Gaza, in which in 2005 the Israeli government forcibly removed.
But now I'm referring. But actually, now I'm referring
in Gaza.
But now I'm actually referring back to 2006, where in the war, right before we got into Lebanon, some of my friends were like, "Dude, I can't do it. I can't do it." And this was not really an ethical thing. This was just they couldn't physically go in. I mean, 2 days before we got in, Katyushas fell on us. Did you have like a fancy English name for that shit?
Katyusha is actually the Russian name of that particular model of rocket.
I was just wondering if you got a
generally
place
use. No, it's just a rocket.
Sure. Well, it was basically one of those Katyusha rockets. It fell right 30 meters next to where we were sitting.
Mm-hmm. That's what you'd call danger close.
Yes,
that's
yes,
danger close fire mission.
Yes, that was pretty close. Oh my god. Anyways, yeah. So we're talking about movies and stuff.
Welcome to talking about Israel and stuff.
This
the
is
podcast.
This is talking about Israel. This is
And
exactly
stuff.
talking about Israel.
And no, yeah, actually, you're right. At the moment, we actually are talking about Israel. We often talk about stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk about here. This is a good one. This makes me think of movies, war. One of my favorite. That's a lot of people are like, "Oh, do you love war movies?" And it's like, oh,
Full Metal
actually,
Jacket.
I never thought
You're
about
like,
it that
fuck
much. But
yeah, you know I do.
You know I do. I live them. No, but my favorite one was Jarhead. I don't know about you guys. I loved that movie.
Really?
I thought it was
I
really
liked
good,
it.
really interesting because it's not big played up. It's more about how boring being a soldier can be sometimes and like
Yes.
disheartening. It was another aspect. What about you guys?
I'm with you. I like that movie. I saw it a few times. I think that for me, as someone who's been through war, been through the army, something that really calms me down, my inner kind of shell-shocked, kind of inner fucked upness inside, is that kind of like, this really rich color of army distortion, or you just
Catharsis.
basically, that's more of, I'm just talking about a certain color, just like we were talking about in another
Yeah, it's
podcast.
called OD Green.
We were talking about Generation Kill and how
Yeah.
the sound of the radio
Right.
really calmed me down. I got injured after the army, funny enough, but while I was sitting there
He
recuperating,
survived the Lebanon War. He was
Yeah.
injured in the plastic factory.
yes,
Yeah.
but when I was recuperating from that, doing some clay and stuff like that to heal back my arm, I was listening, not even watching, Generation Kill over and over again because the color of it was so pleasing. So Jarhead does really have that kind of appeasing quality to it, and it
I have
really
not
does
seen
show you what
Generation Kill. I gotta see that. I gotta,
Really?
You would love
Yeah,
it.
we are big fans.
You would love it. You would love it. It's really good. I would say mine though, if I had to put something up on a pedestal, would be Full Metal Jacket, just off the top of my
Oh
head.
Jesus, yeah, it's one of my favorites too.
Sure. Mine would probably be Saving Private Ryan. I
Well,
feel like
you're
that
more
might
of a
be,
classical
might be
guy.
a little cliche, but I don't know. There was just something about it. And I'm a big Tom Hanks fan.
Sure.
Did you see the?
And you got
porn
Paul Giamatti,
version?
you got
It
all
was Saving Ryan's Privates. Or, I don't know if that made it over to Israel.
Love it. Love it. I'll have to check it out now. That's
Yeah,
what we're
I'm
doing
gonna-
now when we're
Tzach,
going to get off
well,
air.
This is why you have two screens, so you can open Pirate Bay while we're recording.
Exactly. I don't actually know if there's a real movie, but there should be.
And I've never heard of anything called Pirate Bay. I wouldn't know what to do with it if I had. Just,
right. No.
You know.
Dude,
What
they
is illegal
won. They
downloading?
won lawsuits and shit. Or
Who?
they lost lawsuits. I don't know. They're doing what the fuck they want. Pirate Bay and stuff.
Welcome to talking about Israel and stuff.
And
the
Pirate Bay.
podcast
Yeah. Why are you afraid? Fuck it. Yeah. Good.
sponsored
Do what
by
you want.
whiskey.
Sponsored by Freedom.
Sponsored by war and whiskey.
Freedom isn't free, bitches.
So I got out of the Army in 2012, and then I moved back to the States in 2013 to go to school. So I applied to a bunch of different places. I actually still wasn't sure if I didn't know that I wanted to move back to the States. I was really unsure. When I moved to Israel, I thought I'll probably go back to the States. I don't know. Halfway through, I thought I wouldn't go back to the States. And then towards the end, it was kind of all up in the air.
Right. So what tipped the scales?
So I ended up back here once I got into NYU and I found out about the film program that I was interested in. And then I've kind of stayed here. I did my undergraduate at NYU, and now I'm in my, I'm getting an MFA, Master's of Fine Arts in screenwriting. So that's what I've been doing. The
Nice.
past
Good
5
for you.
years.
Good for you. Do it to it.
Yeah, absolutely. We are all about the arts.
Well, not only that, like, remember a friend of ours, this kid named Joey. He used to stay, he came here and was like, I don't know what I should do. I got accepted into Yale, but I want to do the army. I'm like, are you fucking kidding? He's sitting in like, this random ass kibbutz in the end of nothing. We can only dream of being accepted to a fucking crazy place like Yale.
No, but so when you did get back though in 2000 and whatnot, 13, and what about the readjustment period? What about reintegrating and the culture shock, the kind of reverse culture shock, because now you're coming back and you're having a conversation in English with your American friends and your parents and your family, and then all of a sudden you kind of stumble because you're looking for a word that you can think of in Hebrew but not English. That whole
And they don't know what you've been through.
right. They haven't jumped out of a plane 6 times.
I mean, you guys pretty much just got everything like right nail on the head, but I think that's because you guys have probably similar perspectives. When I got back, it was really difficult. First of all, I had a tough time in the Army. I came back, and readjusting just in general took a while, just in terms of like getting used to talking in English. And I had been out of the Army for a while, but the complete shift from the States, from Israel to the States was a little bit jarring, especially because of the fact that, first of all, whenever anybody found out that I was in the Army, like half of the people would instinctively just need to know if I killed anybody. That was like one of the first questions. It continues to be.
People do
like,
actually ask that question?
Oh yeah, like very blatant and open. They think they're being cutesy, or that maybe they know you so well so they can say things like that. That happens quite a bit. A lot of soldiers from anywhere, the people just want to know. Maybe they're just interested. I don't really know, but it's kind of rude.
Just so they should know, you often don't. It's very rare. People here, on average, go to 2 wars during the 25 years of, you got the 3 years and the 22 years of reserve duty. You go into 2 wars. I've thought about this a lot. Like, probably you'll go into 2 wars, right? You usually don't kill anybody. And if you have, like, I've spoken to a guy from Golani, for example, who in Gaza, they had an encounter, but they were 10 people shooting at the same guy. It's kind of like a shooting squad.
So he's got a 10% chance, yeah.
Yeah, so you're like, maybe I killed somebody. Listen, I shot at stuff, but I was in a tank 3 kilometers away shooting at stuff. Like, maybe I killed some. I don't know. Like, so you don't really ever get that certainty. But yeah, keep going.
I mean, yeah, so that's, a lot of people would ask that. Also, a lot of my friends, even when I was in Israel, in the Army, or immediately after, and calling home or Skyping, you're on a completely different wavelength. Different things matter to you, so you have less in common and there's less overlap. So when I want to talk about the Army, they have no idea what to ask. They have no idea and that's of nobody's fault. It's just a disparity between, my reality and their reality at the time. So a lot of my friends from school, they want to talk about school and they want to talk about their friends. And same afterwards. After, when I came back, they had all finished college. I was going to college. I was pretty self-conscious about that. I was a little bit almost embarrassed, even though there's nothing to be embarrassed about. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm the young one now talking about school, and these kids are all grown up, and some of them are investment bankers and blah, blah, blah. So, there was some discomfort with that. But ultimately, I think people are very respectful, even in our military kind of society over here in the West, and just in the West in general, people are still pretty respectful. Except, except for
sympathetic to your kind of experience overall.
Situation. Yeah, be like, what's his situation? Be like, oh, you don't want to know.
Now, ultimately, did you find yourself
Mikey,
being able to reestablish that connection with your old friends, or did you find yourself more kind of making new friends?
I've never been
a big...
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm pretty outgoing, but I'm not extroverted by any means. So, I reconnected with some of my friends, but even to this day, sometimes it's just like, we might have less in common. There's a guy in my program who was in the American Army, or Navy, I don't remember either one. But we instantly, even though we served in completely different armies with different tasks and we had very different upbringings, there's a commonality there that automatically draws us together. Yeah, exactly. Where that's lacking with somebody else. I mean, I think that soldiers and veterans can be a little bit bitter sometimes. I have this too, where it's like, ugh, these fucking assholes asking me if I killed someone, or asking me dumb questions, everything, or like, they have an image of what I'm like, or what soldiers are like, or what military is like, and that's probably the most. It's just putting up with other people's, projections or formed opinions and stuff like that.
Well, to kind of,
yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, lighten the mood. I mean, when I was in Philadelphia University, visiting a friend of mine, I was there with a buddy of mine from the Army who actually has videotaped proof of him.
Doing the deed?
Yeah, and just because we're in tanks, so everything we do is pretty loud, and watched. You know what I mean?
Right.
So one of the Tatzpitaniot, the observer
Women.
who was there, the observer women. This was back in 2008. So they had those basic S60 phones, the Nokias, kind of fat Nokias. You take like this really vague video. So she took a video of the monitor as he was. They had an encounter with terrorists pretty close to the tank. So they had this shell that explodes only 150 meters in, but the terrorist, the soldier, the guy, the person was there about 100 meters in. So the thing did not explode. It just flew, hit him like in the upper chest, and the thing,
just
this thing
blew
flew
upper
out.
body
Yeah.
apart. Yeah.
And you could see the soul on tape, and we put it up on like a friend of ours. He heard that we.
It's called war porn.
Yeah, but he heard. Well, he heard that we have that because we told him in confidence. But then, the room was full of girls, and he had like a big what's it called? Like a big projector, and we connected it to the projector and put that up. And I mean, I'm kind of I don't know if I'm ashamed to say, but I got laid.
Yeah, you should not be ashamed of that at all. Unless, what was his name?
What's that? Who?
The guy who you got laid with.
Oh, fuck you.
All right, so you got nothing to be ashamed of.
That's good.
That's a good war story. I like it.
I'm just saying, yeah.
That might be the first ever in the history of the world war story that takes place at Philadelphia University.
And that something good happens in it. Jesus.
It's true.
And where Tzach gets laid.
That's how you guys should end every story, is just how someone got laid from it.
Tzach getting laid?
With Tzach getting laid, right? Yeah, or just
Yeah,
anyway.
But
we don't have that many stories.
But that's
I know.
like, the big, but it was tainted, man. I had since it's tainted by death, this whole thing, I had like indigestion. And so, yeah, it
It made it
wasn't
less good. Yeah.
For her.
Well, just because I was in America and you guys don't really serve food. So my Israeli stomach had to deal with whatever the hell you were serving there.
Whatever greasy nonsense.
Yes.
Well, you were in Philadelphia, so it was probably
Cheesesteak.
This is okay.
Yeah,
We can cut this. It's okay.
No, this is gold. This is gold. I've been secretly recording it on my telephone device
God.
here as well, so no chance of that. But I think that we can probably get into some recommendations now.
Recommendations.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that? As you are already aware, Mr. Ben, we do like to get into recommendations, and they can be about literally just anything. I once famously recommended a mountain in South America, as Tzach likes to put it. So yeah,
that's the definition of.
Do you have something in mind that you would want to recommend to our listeners out there? Anything at all?
I do. What if I was like, kids should smoke cigarettes? That's what I would like to recommend and put out there.
We don't
into the
have to
world.
necessarily agree or disagree with your recommendation, but Philip Morris certainly will.
Oh, that is very true. I would like sponsors. I'd get a sponsorship from them. Yeah, so I already told you guys these, but they stand. They're two movies that I really like that are done in Israel.
Sure.
Kind of focused on the other in society. So one of them is called Live and Become, Tichye v'Tichye, and it's done by I think he's a Czech director. And it's about a Christian boy from Ethiopia whose mother pretends that he's Jewish to smuggle him out, and he gets to Israel, is raised there, and kind of it goes through the hardships and the struggles of immigrants, also non-Jews, and specifically, Beta Yisrael, which is the Ethiopian community in Israel. And then the second recommendation is called Noodle, or Nudel.
Yes.
Which is also, I think it's Ayelet Menachemi is the director, and she, it's a great movie. It's about a Chinese worker, an illegal Chinese worker who is deported from Israel, and her son is left, and the protagonists have to care for the son, and that's the movie. It's really good. Both of them are highly recommended.
Yeah, I feel like we might have seen Noodle back in the Ulpan. It's like that kind of a heartwarming kind of family, emotional, human experience story that is the kind of thing they would be likely to show us in the Ulpan to kind of get us sympathetic with the Hebrew cause, especially the Hebrew as a second language.
Yeah, that and what else would they have shown us in the Ulpan? I feel like they
There was
would have
one
shown
called,
us
I think, Walking by Water. It was also about Christian.
Oh yeah, Walk on Water,
Right? Walk on Water,
Lechtalamai.
something like that, about the Christian immigrants or tourists.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I think we also did see. Oh no, I actually took an Israeli cinema class in college, and we saw a few other things. Ha'arat Shulaim, Footnote is Joseph Ceder's movie, who did Buffo. A lot of gold over there, you know. Some good movies.
Yeah, before that was the first Lebanon War film, right?
Yeah, Buford.
Yeah, Buford, as we say in America.
Buford.
All right,
Get her
good. So
done.
we've got the
Ben.
2 Israeli films.
Yes,
Ben.
sir. Yes, sir.
Would it surprise you if I recommended something that actually has something to do with Israel?
And it's
What
not
that-
hummus.
No,
Or
yeah,
like
that's
some
too
Israeli
obvious.
strain of weed, or like something.
It's Yochanan Herer.
No,
Yeah.
nah, okay,
That's pretty
okay.
good.
You
That's
see,
pretty good.
okay, sure, I'll take that. No, it's a book. It's a graphic novel, kind of graphic memoir by this guy called Guy Delisle. I'm hoping that I'm pronouncing it right, but
I'm
it's
sure that you're not.
It's French. You can't pronounce it right. It's if you're not French, you just can't pronounce anything
Yeah,
French.
well, if it was him,
Guy
he wouldn't even try
Delisle.
to. So you got him there already.
Yeah, he's a Canadian. And he travels around the world, and he does like I just read his book about Pyongyang. Pyongyang. Is
Pyongyang.
that-
Yeah,
yeah, North
capital of
Korea.
North Korea.
Fucking awesome, really good book. But this one is actually it's better. It's called Jerusalem, and he comes here and he lives in Bet Hanina in East Jerusalem, and he actually arrives in August 2008, and it made me. I'm reading it now. And it's kind of funny how he's talking about cast lead and what he was doing during cast lead. It's pretty.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Tzach, but this Jerusalem, this book that you're recommending,
Yes.
is a graphic novel,
It is. It's a graphic memoir.
graphic memoir.
He did about a lot. He did about Shenzhen and about Pyongyang, and he's got like I think another one.
You know, I like that because you don't have to
about
read
Burma.
as
Burma
much,
is on the way.
right? In graphic novels, it's all kind of.
Well,
it's out there.
I
You get a
love
lot of
him.
pictures. Yeah,
I
Yeah,
love him
generally.
because people express themselves in different ways. This is another way for the author to give you an idea of what they've been through or what they're seeing. So when done right, a graphic novel, and I'm not just being fancy about it. I remember a friend of mine kind of gave me shit about me using graphic novels kind of like a way to remove it away from comic books. I'm not trying to. It's not some highfalutin shit. I'm not trying to be pithy here. This is really just to illustrate that it has a beginning and an end, and it's in one fucking volume. Because if
Right,
you're talking about comic
it's
books,
not a serial.
yeah,
right.
you talk about comic books. Batman is like this thing that's been going on for
serial.
70
Literally,
years.
that's what it's called. It's
Yes.
a series.
But in Batman,
You got issue
there are
number 1,
graphic
issue number
novels.
47, issue number 112.
I'm just saying, in
69.
Batman, you'll find. No.
Oh,
Fancy.
dude.
there we
fancy.
go, getting dirty. over here.
Listen, I'm just saying, within Batman, you'll find a graphic novel. You know what I mean?
as part of it, as
world
part
of
of it.
No, like
Or
Batman,
did you-
like Batman Rises or
What?
Dark Knight. You know, that's a graphic novel.
Wasn't that
That was a movie from the graphic novel.
you just either totally just blew my mind or
Did
totally
I?
just lost me and I have no idea what you
Adapted
want
from the
me.
graphic novel.
So it was a graphic movie novel.
Whoa.
We're just fucking with
You
Tzach's
just blew my
recommendation
mind,
right
dude.
now.
You totally just blew my mind.
So you should go.
My
So read-
recommendation
read-
today
read-
is not listening to anything that Tzach has to say.
So read The Dark Knight by Frank Miller.
Right. So yeah. So if I'm understanding you correctly, Tzach, your recommendation is for the Stan Lee Presidential Library and Museum in Anchorage, Alaska.
I'm not listening. I'm ordering the Frank Miller Batmans.
What are you? Okay. Well, my recommendation for today is this really going down this way?
I'm ordering Frank
His
Miller's
Spanish.
Batman.
Actually, no. He's actually going on his computer right now, and he's like gone on to Amazon or something, and he's ordering some. He's
The
actually
Dark
doing this.
Knight
Okay.
Master Race.
All right. Anyway, so Ben, just you and me. Welcome to talking about Israel and stuff with Ben and Mike.
No, you
no
can
one-
go on. You don't have to be distracted by flashy
I
pictures.
am distracted by most things. So
Amazon.
you should know that. You should know that.
Amazon.
So my recommendation, I actually have one today, prepared in advance. How about that?
Look, it has a mask.
Doing
It
its
comes with a
homework.
mask.
You are fucking unbelievable. You're incorrigible, is what you are. So.
This is talking about Israel and
No,
stuff.
he
This
actually
the
is.
stuff.
Ben, I can confirm that he's actually looking at like a Batman mask
It comes with a
on
book.
one of those little white styrofoam heads. display
Dark
heads.
Knight Returns book and masks.
This is a typical Israeli. They're
masks.
supposed to be,
This,
doing their work and they're putzing around, you know?
yeah, for real. This is very unprofessional of you, Tzach. My recommendation,
Yes,
which
Mikey.
I've taken the care of preparing in advance, and not,
For once.
and not ordering while
For once.
ordering my recommendation while we're recording it. Well, to be fair, I've often prepared recommendations in advance. I just didn't write them down, and I forgot what they were. But today it is, and even for those of you out there who, on the off chance, have no brains and are therefore not Simpsons fans, season that was pretty harsh. I'm supposed to be being nice to the listeners.
Yes, you can be nicer to people.
No, because I'm a huge Simpsons. For me, Simpsons is like
Yes.
a big, BFD, as it were.
Sure.
Even if you're not a Simpsons fan, The Simpsons season 21, episode 16,
Yes.
The Simpsons Come to Israel, is just brilliant. In fact, I believe it would be The Simpsons Go to Israel because, but anyway, really brilliant episode. The Simpsons Go to Israel. You've got Sacha Baron Cohen playing the tour
Yeah.
guide. The hilarious, who is the tour guide here? Your fancy brochure?
Shut up your face.
Shut up your face. You think Israelis are pushy. You sit there surrounded by your great enemy, Canada. Try Syria for 1 week, then we'll see who's pushy.
I also love the
Bits.
little,
More bits.
More
the
bits,
little
more
romance. The romance that they have going on with Bart and the little Israeli girl who just, the only thing she says is, "Krav Maga."
Right, he does the karate and she does it. Yeah, no, the whole episode. Maybe in fact, what we'll do, Ben, is we'll get on another teleconference call, maybe next week, and we can just act out the whole entire episode for our listeners. I think that would be more fun. But
I do too. We'll do a little Mike and Ben table read. I'll do all the. You take. Well, you can do Marge and Lisa, and I'll do.
I could probably do a pretty good Marge.
I do
to
a
work on
decent.
it. I'm not gonna do it right
you have
now.
it's only certain words. Like you can do. Ready, homie. Right. Something like that.
You've got Marge nailed. Wow, Ben, can we get some fake applause in the background, Tzach?
There you go.
We'll catch that in post.
I'll get it in post. I'll get it.
So yeah, that's my recommendation. Even if you're not a major Simpsons fan or a major Israel fan, give the two of them together a chance because it's a winning combination.
If you're
It really
not
is.
if you're not an Israel fan,
Yeah. What are you doing on this podcast then? If you're not.
Yeah,
people
if you
like
are
an
not
hour
also,
and
by
30
the way,
deep.
if you're not an Israel fan, also coincidentally, you can send us your hate mail to,
oh yes,
what's that address? Tzach?
come on, you know it.
It's I love Israel
Yes.
at talkin'bout dot
Hell,
fuck you
yes.
anti-Semites
Yeah, something like that.
dot
Something
net
like that.
com.
I'm pretty sure it's something like that.
COICUP.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get that fake applause in there later.
By the way, if you tell a joke and nobody laughs, they're anti-Semites. Because it's you who told it. Listen, okay, so yeah. Definitely send us some hate mail.
Yeah, please do. We're happy to get it. Also, remember, listeners, you can send us your hate mail also on Facebook. They're even on most of the podcasting apps, like on Podbean or whatever.
You can leave a comment on there, so you can like go
you
fuck
can-
yourselves, or you're not
exactly.
funny. Stop making.
It doesn't have to be
jokes.
hate mail. You don't have to put a stamp on it. It could be like a hate comment. You could
Yes.
even give us like a hate like or a hate
Listen,
share.
don't limit yourself.
Yeah, the sky is totally the limit and beyond. So by all means, hate us, please. The more, the merrier.
Mikey, look, Animal Farm is only 28 shekels. That's really good, man.
Are you? Do you want? I mean, dude, listen, you can plug whatever website you're on if you want, if that's what you're all about.
Fuck them. I've been buying in this website, which will remain nameless, for years, and they gave me not a single free book, not a single
Oh, but they have those awesome bookmarks, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That must
what
have-
are you, a
that must-
disgruntled German businessman?
That must have set him back a while. There's podcasting is growing. It's just getting bigger and bigger right now.
And we are hoping to grow with it.
Which we were talking about commute times. Hey, commute time's going up. That's good
Zing.
for business.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. What's that? There's a big jam up on the 405 interchange. Cha-ching.
You seem bored. How about check this out?
I'm going to be sitting back at home watching those subscriber numbers just skyrocket.
It's just waiting.
At the moment we're just waiting, yeah, but we're pretty confident that it will happen one day.
You and Tzach just take 12-hour shifts, and like if something happens, you have to alert the other one. You're like, we got another one,
dude. We're going live streaming.
We're actually very happy. We're very happy. We're looking at
we are
views
anti-traffic accidents.
We're looking at like all these kind of like really minute stats, and we're just enjoying it.
Anti-traffic accidents. Yeah, speaking of actually, this is such a tangent, but it'll get better as we get those self-driving cars that they've kind of implemented in certain cities around the city, and then everybody will be able to.
Well, I hope not. Frankly, I'll tell you why, Ben, because that will kill podcasting. The whole idea with podcasting is that you can't watch videos while you're driving, so you got to listen.
Yeah, but maybe they'll just look out the window and enjoy
if the car's driving itself, so you can like look out the window and pretend that you're driving and listen to the podcast.
Right.
But that'll never happen. People like driving their own cars way too much.
I think they're starting it in Pittsburgh, or it started already. Some portion of the cars are self-driving.
I can't wait, man. I mean, I'm a driver, so I don't know how good that is for me, but they still need someone to get out of the car and go and get what needs to be gotten.
No, they've got drones and robots and drobots.
All right, then I'm out of work, then.
Actually, that was the last name of my Rassap in the army. His last name was Drobot.
Drobot.
It is. Yeah.
Your Rassap that's like your staff sergeant, drill sergeant, something like that.
Yeah, it's like a logistics officer, but it's Tzach. I have no idea.
Rav Seren Plugati. No, it's not Rav Seren. Rav Samal Plugati.
What is it? The Rassap? Rav Samal Plugati.
So it's like a company staff sergeant, right? Something like that.
Yes.
Hey,
Ben. Ben, you want to answer me?
It's funny because when people ask me simple questions about the military in English, so many times I just end up sounding like a fool because I have no idea how to say things in English. I wasn't, it's a completely different structure.
It's the Rassap, dude. Which part don't you get?
So Ben, last question for you. I posted this on a group called Incredibly Weird Movies. I asked them movies that had a star cast, writing and such, and still sucked balls. What's your answer to that?
A movie that had a star-studded cast and really good everything and still sucked balls. God, the fun that came immediately to my mind was Woody Allen's Small Time Crooks that I saw forever ago, which I don't know if it has a good cast, but it's Woody Allen. But that was a terrible movie. I'm trying to think of some other ones that
I'm personally not such a huge Woody Allen fan. I do respect him, and he's got a great body of work and a bit of diversity, but just not my flavor.
And he's also a sexual weirdo.
Yeah, the reason I brought it up with a friend actually recently was somebody was like, why don't you like him? And I said I had trouble verbalizing it, but I thought about it a while, and I think the answer is because there's something so almost stereotypically American Jewish about him that it almost feels like when somebody will play a black character in a movie, very stereotypically, it's spoken of as being kind of minstrel or almost stereotypical. Right. It's very offensive and derogatory.
Well, there was the whole blaxploitation was an actual term that was used, right?
That was a thing
as far as films that were where they.
Well, yeah, and just
I love it. I love it how we're saying was a thing. Like that's not still a thing.
No, frankly, the reason why I said that is because I remember about almost 20 years ago, 18, 19 years ago, I took a cinematography course, and we were studying Do the Right Thing, the Spike Lee film.
Yes.
And I remember that was when I learned about that term of blaxploitation was in the context of learning about that movie. And so for me, it just seems like a concept that I came into contact with so long ago that I just automatically put it in the past tense. But
so the big thing, no, that was clear to me, but the big thing about Woody Allen is that just it feels like when I'm watching his movies, I'm watching somebody say, oh yeah, that's what the American Jew is like. That's the play him like that.
Right,
make him look ridiculous.
Let's make him a banker.
Like a
he drives a Volvo.
Well,
right. Which is why I appreciate the Bear Jew from Inglourious Basterds.
the Bear Jew. I'll tell you what I like. I'll tell you what I like about him. I like the
Woody
fact
Allen?
that every year he brings out a movie. I think about 40 years now.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely prolific.
Yes.
Coen brothers are definitely my favorite director.
Yeah.
But they don't put out as much. So
They shouldn't. They're doing exactly what they need to do. They've been putting out quality
They
film
make-
after quality film.
I want to use the word epic, even though it's not in the technical sense, but they make epic films.
Yes.
You know.
do you want to know what I thought was a terrible movie? I just thought of one that had a ton of money and
Oh, so
studio
this is like an
and cast.
anti-recommendation.
This is an and a recommendation to be pulled is Avatar. I hated Avatar.
Oh,
I
yeah.
fucking hated
All
that
three of
movie.
us are together in that.
Fucking
Tzach
hated that
actually and I went to go see that in the theater here in Israel.
Fucking hated it.
It was
Terrible.
one of the only times I've been in the movie theater in Israel. And Tzach actually, it was funny. You know, they hand out the 3D glasses at the entrance to the
Yeah.
theater, and Tzach somehow managed to break his, like split them in half.
Well, I was
and
bored.
so it was two pieces, the red and the blue. And he's sitting there trying to like hold them together, piece it together like an opera, you know,
Like a
looking
monocle.
glass. Right.
Yeah,
And
monocle.
he's
Well, I was-
fidgeting. And after about 20, 30 minutes, he just goes like, fuck this, throws the glasses on the floor, gets up and just walks out of the theater. And he actually literally sat outside the theater and waited for us, the rest of us who stayed in there. God only knows why I stayed in there. I should have gotten up and walked out as well. It was
I'm
bad.
sure that movie has like a sound premise or some fucking
It
whatever.
does.
I was so goddamn bored. I left and I just sat outside for a bit. Then I came inside and I sat on my glasses and I broke them. And I was like, oh my God, this 3-hour garbage film. And we're going to get, if we're going to get hate for anything, it's for
It's
saying
gonna be
this is
talking
garbage.
shit about Avatar.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fine with us, like, he's scoring off of like dead terrorist films and shit. That's fine. No, don't say anything about my fucking blue people.
Hey man,
Rip off to fucking Costner.
that's our audience, man. If there's something wrong with them, then we're the ones to blame. So think about
Like
that.
how would you pitch that? That movie is like it's like 300 meets Blue Man Group is how I would like pitch that film. I feel like.
I honestly don't even remember almost anything about the movie. It was so bad. I remember disliking it so much and being so frustrated and disappointed. I remember. I also don't like 3D in general. I think that
It's old technology. It's old. It's from the 90s.
right. That's the
They
thing.
used to
is
do it,
Things are so the technology is so well advanced today that you can do things amazing. You can make beautiful, complex graphics and animation, all CGI techniques, and having the glasses, it's this physical distraction that contributes to a mental distraction, and then I think the quality of the movie itself just suffers because of this gimmick. So I don't like the 3D in general, and
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. I don't
sit
like
through
it.
3 hours of
I'm
it.
sure that a lot of people could tell us why we're stupid and wrong.
And those people can turn their thoughts to I love Israel at talkin'bout Fuck
You see the tie-in. You see, Mikey's a
Yeah,
professional.
Tzach, I don't know if they could. I think they might be idiots. If they do. That would be my take on it.
You see, Ben's helping us get comments and shit.
We
we're
should,
poking the bear, poke the troll.
Tzach, sometimes you eat the bar, and sometimes
the bar eats
he eats you. So Ben, I do want to say thank you for joining us all the way from.
On that note,
Where did you say it was again? It was Aurora, Illinois.
Yes, it's New York City, actually. It's, where I'm currently residing.
Shitty Walk.
Shitty Walk.
South Park fans out there.
South
Tzach, have you ever heard of South Park?
no.
No, Tzach's never heard of South Park.
No.
So, no, in all seriousness, Ben, this has been a lot of fun. I wish that you were still here in Israel, honestly, because you're a fun dude.
I do. I miss you guys. This was a lot of fun. I was thrilled when you told me about the podcast, and it sounded like a great idea. And I've actually pitched it to a few friends, and they're like, "Oh, I'd listen to the crap out of that." Except they didn't say
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Please.
Well,
Please
hopefully I'll
do.
get to see you guys. I might be coming back to Israel for my picadon for the bonus that I got from the army this summer. So we'll see. I'll be in touch and come say hi.
Yeah, we are here. The cows are here. The avocados are here.
Hell
The
yeah.
avocados.
Why are you plugging avocados, man? He's going to be here in the summer.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Lychee.
Well, we can still go
lychees
hang
in
out
summer
up there.
for
Lychee.
Yeah,
Time
dude,
it
yeah.
right.
You see, he knows what's up,
If you
man.
time it right, yeah, this guy knows what's up for sure. Lychee is,
I know
for
what's
those
up.
of you out there who have no idea, lychee is this deliciously amazing
They
exotic
got
fruit
Google.
that only
Listen,
has a 3-week
they have Google.
season
What
every
they don't
year.
have is they don't know that now for years now they got guards on the lychee, and we can't steal it anymore.
I know
Not as
the
easily.
guard. I used to work with him. My buddy.
Oh right, you got it in.
Yeah.
So come here and help us steal.
Right, yeah, Tzach, it doesn't help that you're a kibbutz member. It helps that this American dude once worked here 10 years ago. That's what's going to get us into the lychee. Something just went horribly wrong. But Ben, this has been a lot of fun, and I do hope you
Yes,
come visit
thank you
soon
very
because
much.
it's a good time here, and it's a good place, and you'll have a good time visiting, but also because we miss you. I definitely wish you the best of luck with your MFA, your Masters of Fucking Around.
Well,
Yes.
thank you.
Best of luck and all that. But finish that shit up and come to Israel and let's make
And we'll
some
put
Israeli
you on.
films.
We'll put you on one of the podcasts.
Let's
where,
do it,
where it's
man.
in
We'll make
Hebrew,
the next
so you can-
Israeli Avatar. That's like, that sounds like a good one.
Well, we can dream, Ben. It's a big dream, but we can dream.
We'll put you.
making
We'll
the
put you
worst
on one of the
movie ever.
Hebrew podcasts so you can show off your Hebrew.
All right, guys. Thanks. It's been real.
Yep, for sure. Again, thank you so much, and everyone out there.
Yeah, thank you guys for
podcast
listening.
land,
Find
thank
us
you
on
guys as well.
Facebook, like, share, do all that
We're
shit.
also on the iTunes and on the podcasting apps, all of them.
Dude,
Literally all of
I
them.
overdid
We're out
it,
there.
man. We're everywhere. We're just like you can just go outside and yell the name of the podcast, and you'll somehow.
In fact,
it'll
we'd
get
greatly
to you.
appreciate it. And go ahead and do that right now. As soon as the recording's over, just hit that stop button. Go outside and shout the name of the podcast. Unless you happen to live in, like Mobile,
No,
Alabama.
don't say it. No, even if you're in Mobile, Alabama, go out, shout "I love Jews" and see what happens. And just,
But
this is fun.
Disclaimer: we are not responsible for the results of what may happen if you go out into Mobile, Alabama, shouting "I love Jews."
In other news today in Mobile, Alabama.
They're gonna end up making a biopic about us, the two podcaster guys who got that mob of
God.
Jewish people killed by going outside in Mobile, Alabama, and shouting.
I love
love
talking
Jews.
about Israel and stuff.
He goes around.
It's gonna be the trial of the century.
All right. Well, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks,
So
everybody. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you, listeners in podcast land. This has been Talking About Israel and Stuff podcast. I've been Mike. You've been Tzach. Ben has been Ben, and it's been real.